The Global Right has called on stakeholders and governments of Nigeria to effectively tackle issues causing conflict across the country. The program's manager of the Global Right, Edosa Obiawe, made this known while addressing newsmen at the launch of a documentary on mass atrocities in Nigeria, which held at the nation's capital, Abuja. Our correspondent, Edidion Akpanoku, reports.
It was an opportunity for stakeholders and participants to interact and provide solutions to the rising cases of insecurity across the country. Participants at this section reveals that the rising levels of insecurity across the country can be linked to the dissatisfaction and frustration of citizens at government's inability to cater for their basic needs.
We tend to have the short memory. We tend to forget certain things so soon. And then what that means is you just get these issues to fester over and over again. We deal with the same issues because we have not deliberately looked at the history, looked at the root causes of these issues. So Gangs of Nigeria is just another way of making us to sit in a round table of Nigerians to critically study the root causes of this conflicts we're having in Nigeria, looked at across the various geopolitical zones. What are the causes? Who are the main actors of this conflict? What have we failed to do as a people in addressing this conflict? Or what efforts, if there are, have been there in addressing this effort? And what do we need to do in addressing this conflict? So those are the main reasons why Gangs of Nigeria was produced, to make us have like a reckoning of our history on how the issues of conflicts, issues of crisis has degenerated consistently and persistently in our country. There is this, in every transitional justice, there is this element of identifying the factors of conflict. If you don't deliberately identify the factors of conflict and deal with those factors the way they are, then there is every tendency of those factors being with us continually, and it's breeding the conflict and making the conflict to just continue in perpetuity. And so over time, the government have set up so many truth and reconciliation committees here and there to usher in this transitional justice. But even after identifying these factors of conflict, we have not, or the government have not taken deliberate steps to resolving these factors. So in that way, we will say government have not really taken deliberate actions to putting a stop to this thing. If you identify the root cause of the conflict, then you should put on the mechanisms to resolve those factors. If not, those conflicts will keep on. The best you can do is to buy it out for a while, and then it comes back again, and you keep buying it out, and it comes back, keep buying it out. How long can we keep buying out conflict? How long can we keep buying our way out of conflict instead of dealing with the main factors that is actually perpetuating those conflicts?
It's really, terrible and sad to know that my state actors are not doing what they're supposed to do, and youths are now left alone to pick up arms, turn out to be gangs to protect themselves. So, and violence against violence is not always the answer. So I'm saying state actors should be more strategic about the approaches they put out, and when citizens demand for accountability from them, they shouldn't use violence. Rather, they should give them listening ears so that we'll stop having more Gangs of Nigeria.
The acting executive director of Clean Foundation, Ruth Olonfin, who was in attendance, revealed that insecurity has become rife across several regions of the country.
Because we hear so much about Boko Haram and bandits, you tend not to remember that there are other groups that are operating in several parts of the country, and this documentary has sort of pull up or bring to our consciousness that across each geopolitical zone you have armed groups that are operating, and it's high time that the states rise up to do something about it.
Olofin says that it is important that government listens and understands why groups across the country are taking up arms and resorting to violence.
Clearly, the states seem to have lost this monopoly over instruments of violence, over instruments of coercion. So you see that groups, practically across all geopolitical zones, have access to small arms and light weapons. Some are even saying more sophisticated than what the state has. And then again, beneath some of the issues that have given rise to these gangs is the fact that the failure of governance not government not providing what people need, the basics, for people, and then they're rising. What I think needs to be done is that government needs to come back to the drawing board and recognize why were we elected into office, and that is to provide for the security and welfare of the people. Security and welfare is not just being in the office. When we say security and welfare, we mean it in 360 degrees angle. And then beyond that, providing that you need to also have a government that is a listening government. In other words, it's not every violence or conflict that happens that the state needs to measure up with force. And that is what agitates a lot of people, and they begin to come together as group and then attack the state and attack other people. So we need a government that is listening, particularly as we are going into a critical year 2023. Who is the kind of leader that we are electing into office? We need to be able to look at the body language of such persons. Are they the people that can listen to agitations without, taking arms or, using force, essentially, deploying security personnel against the people? Some of these things can actually be resolved. I think that there still needs to be platforms for truth and reconciliation in this country. One, to address past grievances, civil war, and all other issues, and then the contemporary challenges that we have in terms of security. Some of these rise from local grievances that were not addressed, and as such, has blown into bigger things, and people are organizing into anger. So I think that the government needs to listen more to the people, and then, of course, provide the needed essentials that people need to be humane, to live in a humane and even be a human, as it were, because if you're denied the essentials, then you're living in inhuman conditions. For those who are picking up arms, sometimes violence is not, I know violence can sometimes arise as the last resort, but people are agitated. So it's perhaps to appeal to people that we need to step down on our violence, on our outlook, on our stance towards the state, especially when we are aggrieved, that we don't pick up arms. For people or groups who have access to small arms, I think that is a critical issue, that as much as possible, let's reduce these arms in circulation. So people, if you know your neighbor picking up arms or keeping arms, find a way to talk to them that don't use this instrument against your neighbor, and report to security agencies.
Edidion Apanuko reporting for Development Nigeria Television.